We had Prabhu Kutti, who took some sessions on planetary imaging. And then we had Anish, who practically showed us how to photograph the planets through his telescope. And we also had some sessions on different kind of equipment by Anish again. And then we moved on to the visual observation series, which for which we had a tremendous turnout. We had a lot of discussion about visual observation, and this series of sessions was taken by Dr. Akarsh Simha. And today we have Ajay Talwar, who is one of my most favorite astrophotographers, inspiration. Um, and he is taking this session on annular solar eclipse. And Vishwa will introduce Ajay.
Thank you, Kirti. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all fine and doing well. I'm excited to introduce Mr. Ajay Talwar. I first met Ajay at JNP back in 2010 during a session on astrophotography. Ajay specializes in Tuan style astrophotography, so where celestial objects are captured in stunning landscapes with famous monuments in foreground. Ajay's work has been published on APOD, that is Astronomy Picture of Day, for at least a couple of times. And taking this kind of photos, it requires a lot of meticulous planning. And Ajay is an amazing planner. And yeah, in the view of this upcoming eclipse, right? So this preparatory workshop will help us plan for the same and take similar awesome photographs as like him. Yeah, and on behalf of BAS, I welcome you, Ajay. Over to you.
Well, anyway, let me begin. Welcome, everyone, and thank you to Bangalore Astronomical Society for arranging and managing this webcast. We are at the moment month before the eclipse comes over India, and I'm going to tell you a lot of things about how to photograph it. Let me begin by saying that I haven't done so. If you find anything missing, if you're not able to hear me, I will be able to hear you and then correct the problem. The presentation by recounting how many eclipses have crossed over. I was born in 1965, and there were two eclipses. One in 1965, but the total solar was before I was born. And the first eclipse that happened in my lifetime was it was an annular. I have found no record of this particular. It seems like very few people observed it in India. You can see the eclipse paths, parts of Himachal, Uttarakhand. It used to be Uttar Pradesh, then Nepal, and the northeastern states. Eclipse number 2 was another annular. It also crossed. You can see the path over here, almost the northern tip of talking about the eclipses, that the number of eclipses that have happened born, and 1965 and 1976, there were two annular eclipses which crossed India. I'm talking about in India. The first eclipse that I on 16 February 1980, and on the screen you can see the two famous incidents. Like every town was empty, nobody was watching the eclipse, and you can see the news item that it shows Connaught Place, ghost town. Nobody out in the streets. And then next morning, I very distinctly remember this photograph of series over the Sun Temple, Konark, which was taken by Mr. Vasant Majgaonkar. And this photograph, the world, became a very famous photograph. It was shot on film, on a single frame of film. Eclipse number 4, that was my first eclipse which I traveled for, me and my wife. 24th October 9 eclipse, and I had traveled to a place called Barkakana. It was a very short eclipse. The totality was 7th long, and I was really happy to capture it. And this image on the bottom right is a composition blending of about 40 exposures. And I saw with our eyes, we saw with our eyes sort of shape of what we remember calling as a Filmfare Award. This particular prominence over here. Eclipse number 5 was crossing India, but it was passing through Europe. And since the eclipse in India was at the sunset, me and my wife decided to go to France, and we missed the eclipse totally. I want to show you the video where it was raining continuously at the place where we were. You can see that cameras are covered with plastic. It was raining, it was pouring. And it was this part of the, just a little part of the eclipse that we saw for about 2 or 3 minutes. Bad decision to go to France. I should have gone to Turkey. So in the hindsight, it was we felt very bad missing the eclipse. Eclipse number 6 was again in the middle of monsoon, 22nd July 2009. Middle of monsoon, and it was since the failure of August 1999. We were wondering what to do. It was a very long eclipse, and it was a sunrise eclipse in India. We decided that we should fly above the monsoon clouds, and along with space, we chartered the plane feet and above the clouds, and you can see over here we clicked the eclipse that I shot. Eclipse number 7 in Jan 2010, which me and my family went to a place called Varkala, which was on the limit of the path. So you can see a series of eclipse images over here, and the circle of the moon is on one side because we were located on the northern edge of the path. Eclipse number 8, annular on 26 December last year. I had gone to Ooty radio telescope, the location of the radio telescope, to watch the eclipse, and it was beautifully clear that day. Then this will be the 9th eclipse over India in my lifetime. So what I'm trying to, there are very few eclipses that happen in your country in your lifetime. You should not miss it. Now, in these trying, it's very difficult to travel. But now slowly it's opening up. So the eclipse is coming to you. You don't have to go anywhere. So my request to everybody is, if you can, do go and see the eclipse. This is a very special eclipse, and I'm going to tell you why it is special. Eclipse number 10 is going to happen on 21st May 2031. So there's a between this eclipse and the next one is going to happen in 2031. You can see the path. Madurai is going to be on this somewhat on the center line. Going to be eclipse number 10 and is scheduled for 20th March 2034. This particular region is Jammu and Kashmir. You can see the Kashmir on the left. The center line is crossing over Srinagar, and then it goes over Leh. So this is going to be on this date. I'm going to be 69. So my request to everybody: do go and see the eclipse, which is happening on 21st June 2020. So if there are any comments or questions at this moment, I can hear everybody out.
Actually, I think you even went to Japan for one of the eclipses, right?
Yes, I have been to several other countries. Basically, I wanted to say, mention the eclipses which are crossing over India. So this stuff is in my lifetime over India. I've been to Japan 2 years back. I went to Idaho, a total solar eclipse, and another eclipse in 2006. I had gone to Turkey, beautifully over the Mediterranean, and I was able to photograph the eclipse. And I'm going to show you a short video of that eclipse also.
So if we miss this one, then the next one will be in 2034, is it?
If we miss this one, then there's an annular happening in southern India in 2031, a total solar eclipse happening in northern India, going over Srinagar and Leh in 2034.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's a question on the chat. Are those composite pictures of the eclipse progressing across the range in post-processing, or are they real-time images merged into one? Well, I'm going to talk about this kind of photography of making a composite. I'm going to show you some of the initial pictures taken by just one frame of the film, and I'm going to show you some pictures taken with digital cameras, which are now okay. Thank you. So where is this eclipse happening? It's going over 5 states. Just give me a minute. 1 second, please. Well, the integral path of this eclipse is crossing 5 Indian states. From the, if we start from the west, Punjab, and then a little bit through Uttar Pradesh, and then finally Uttarakhand. In these 5 states, if you watch the path, you will see a central eclipse. That means the moon will pass completely over the sun. just about 22 kilometers across the entire Indian path. The rest of entire India will witness a non-central or a partial solar eclipse. So if you are close to the border, if your obscuration will be more, and in southern India, the obscuration will be less and less. The shadow of Rajasthan, the first town, the first small town that will witness annularity is over here, the town Nana, close to Pakistan border, and here the eclipse is happening at 11, and it goes eastwards. The shadow will travel eastwards and Tibet, and the time of crossing into Tibet is about 12:12. Takes about 22 minutes from the shadow as it enters India and then crosses over to Tibet. Eclipse is the greatest point is in Uttarakhand. The eclipse is happening around noon, so it's going to be in the sky, especially since this is summers and it's happening on 21st June. Solstice day in the sky, about 80 degrees high in India. The first state that is going through is Rajasthan, and it's going to be really hot. It is expected to touch about 47, 49 degrees, and you will have to battle the heat, but it's going to be guaranteed clear over here. Monsoon would not have reached Rajasthan. The main city eclipse is going through in Rajasthan. Seems to be the center of attention of many eclipse chasers. There are a lot of sand. Take a visit to Suratgarh, a lot of sand dunes over here, and it's a small town, typical small town, and so you can go to Suratgarh. The problem at the moment is this ongoing restriction travel to Suratgarh. If you travel to Rajasthan, there are some restrictions. You'll have to be checked for corona, and it seems from tomorrow the flights are going to start going to Jaipur. So you the next state that the eclipse is crossed, Haryana and Punjab, and here the eclipse is going through Allahabad, then Sirsa, and then a place called Tohana, and there's a place called Kaithal, very famous place in Haryana. In Haryana, the eclipse path is going over Kurukshetra. It's a very interesting place. Is lies completely in the path, inside the path. So I had gone and done a recce visit in this parts of Haryana and Punjab. I had gone to Tohana, then and Jakhal Mandi, then came back to Haryana and traveled to Sirsa. In the southern part of the district, you have some sand dunes also. So if you don't want to cross somewhere over here in Gurgaon, and traveling to Sirsa will be logistically Rajasthan. So my original plan was to go to Suratgarh, but now I think I'm going to see the same weather, but with little travel restrictions. The date of eclipse coincides with the, Haryana is a lot of fields and a lot of canals and this paddy sowing time. So the date of eclipse coincides with the controversial date of transplanting of paddy crop from the nursery. The date has been specified by the government and is 20th June this year. With the arriving monsoon in the region, so that the farmers reduce the enormous amount of water that is required for paddy crop. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because the government has studied the monsoon patterns over the years and the paddy transplant the paddy on 20th June, because just a few days left before the monsoon arrives. So you have to be very careful. Watch the weather. If you are planning to go in Punjab and Haryana instead of Rajasthan, you must be very careful to keep weather patterns in the week before the eclipse, because the monsoon may arrive just a few days earlier in these. The ancient town of Kurukshetra lies completely inside the June eclipse. A number of people have decided to go to Kurukshetra for observing the eclipse. Well, related with eclipses traditionally. Why? Because there's a Brahmakund in Kurukshetra in India, or not even in India. People go to Kurukshetra and take baths in this Brahmakund, so that they have the ill effects of. Well, I don't believe in all that, but the fact is that people visited Kurukshetra just to take baths in the Brahmakund. So, if you're planning, shortest way to the eclipse center line from Delhi. So there are a lot of, just because of this reason. In these times of pandemic, I don't know what decisions the authorities, district magistrate will take, because there are a lot of people visiting, because usually a lot of people visit Kurukshetra. I don't know what will happen. The situation may change even at the last minute. There is one Kavla planetarium. Yep.
Hi, Ajay.
Okay, your questions are welcome, but I cannot see them in the chat because I'm on my screen. I have a presentation. So Kirti and Vishwa are helping me, and in between I'll take breaks, and then your questions will be taken up. So I was going through the fields and canals of Punjab and Haryana. So you must watch out for the eclipse changes, or for the weather changes that are happening 1 week before the eclipse, because this is monsoon arrival time in Punjab and Haryana. And moreover, so many people are trying to travel to Kurukshetra because that is the nearest place to Delhi. It lies on National Highway 1. You can just travel up north, about 2-hour journey. But watch out, there'll be a lot of pilgrims thronging Kurukshetra. In 2006, 1 million people came to take bath over here. So watch out. Then the path of the eclipse goes through the Doab of Uttar Pradesh. The word Doab means in the middle of two rivers, the rivers being Yamuna and Ganga. And you can see over here, Yamuna Nagar is in Haryana, just across the border, and Haridwar with its river Ganga is just on the right side over here. This is the eclipse path is crossing through Uttar Pradesh just for about 51 kilometers, just before the Shivalik Hills and Dehradun. Saharanpur is out of the path, but a place called Behat is right on the center line of the eclipse path. It's going to be mango season over here, so when you go to watch the eclipse, if you are going over here, if you're living nearby, please do have some mangoes. The fifth state of the path which is crossing is going through Uttarakhand, and this promises to be the most interesting state in which the eclipse path is going. The eclipse path crosses over the Shivalik hills near Dehradun. The entire town of Dehradun is in the path. This is the most populated region in the entire eclipse across the world, Dehradun, the capital of Uttarakhand. Then the path crosses over quickly. It rises up the foothills. It goes through many districts. Tihri is one. You can see over here the Tihri Dam, New Tihri Dam. It's cutting across the northern limit of the path. Then it's going over a lot of places where people go and trek. Short treks, moderate treks, like you trek for about 3 to 4 to 5 hours and then you reach the top. So such places are Ukhimat, then you have Chopta, Tungnath, and a lot of other places. One thing I missed, there's a place, peak called Sirkanda Devi near Dhanolti. This is Dhanolti over here, and near Masuri. It's outside the path, just about 3 kilometers outside the path over here. The name of the peak is Sarkanda Devi, and you have to spend about an hour climbing this peak. And from there, you have a vantage view of the entire Dehradun town. If you go and stand on top of this peak, you will see the shadow moving below you. Because this is a vantage point of about, the height is about 10,000 feet, and you'll be able to see the entire shadow going below you. So that's a very interesting place to go, but it's outside, 3 kilometers outside the path. Then there's
since this is a sorry, Ajay, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So since this is an annular solar eclipse, will you still be able to see the shadow?
That's true that it's an annular eclipse, but it's almost a total solar eclipse. It's a very special eclipse. Like the ratio of the sun and the moon is 0.99. So the moon is covering almost the entire. It's not like any other annular which I have seen before, because in an annular, the shadow is not really seen. But this annular is quite special. It's one of the deepest annular happening. It's almost a total.
Okay, thanks.
Then the eclipse path is going, as I was saying, there's a lot of trekking places in this Rudraprayag. All the rivers that go and make the Ganga, the eclipse is crossing over all these rivers. And finally, it reaches a place near Joshimath, where the greatest eclipse, this is a point of greatest eclipse. It basically means that the geometry of the earth, moon, and sun is coming in a straight line at this point. It's not the maximum eclipse, nor it just means that the geometry is matching at this point on the surface of the earth, and it's called the greatest point. This point is near Joshimath, and particularly near a place called Gorsan Bugyal. It's like an alpine meadow, and you have to trek to this place. The trekking takes about 2 to 3 hours, but it's a beautiful place. very close to Oli, the skiing resort of Oli. But this is summers, no snow will be there. And then subsequently the path goes over some of the very high peaks in the Uttarakhand Himalayas. You have the Tirsuli. The highest peak is uh, just a second. The name has slipped through my mind. Hardeol. The highest peak, which is more than 7,000 feet, is Hardeol and is right on the center line. So other peaks like Kalanka and Tirsuli, and there are a lot of other peaks which are more than 6,000 feet are in the path. So there's no expedition planned at the moment, but if somebody does go on top of Hardeol and watches the eclipse, it's going to be a record. No one has gone at such a height and observed the eclipse, any kind of eclipse. One of the famous eclipse chasers, Xavier Jubier, he has gone to Antarctica, which is quite a high continent, but even Antarctica is not as high as Hardeol. So this is a very interesting part of the path of the eclipse through Uttarakhand. And then, of course, the path crosses over to Tibet, and it goes over Kailash and Mansarovar Lake. So that's also a very interesting part of this eclipse. Dehradun, the town of Dehradun, this slide shows Dehradun town, is almost entirely inside the path. So you have Shivalik Hills over here, and then you have the Doon Valley before the foothills of Himalayas start. So the center line is over here, and this is the largest populated area in the entire path of this eclipse across which will encounter a central eclipse over here. So I'll take a little break and see if there are any questions pending which I can take up.
So the questions are: does it go through the Nanda Devi National Park?
Well, it goes through Nanda Devi National Park. That's true, but the actual Nanda Devi is not in the path. It's towards the south. I can show you. I can actually
Also,
go on. Yeah.
it may be in a different direction than the eclipse, right? So maybe having both the peak and the sun in the same frame may be difficult.
Oh, you mean clicking the Nanda Devi along with the eclipse?
No, I'm just asking if that would be possible, or if clicking the eclipse with any other peak would be possible.
Well, the eclipse is happening at a very high altitude above the horizon at almost 80 degrees. So clicking,
Okay, so it's on top of the head.
a landscape along with the eclipse is extremely difficult because the eclipse is so high. Basically, because the greatest eclipse point of greatest eclipse is in India. So eclipse is happening at noon, and furthermore, it's a solstice day. So the moon and the sun are really high in the sky.
Right.
Any other question?
There's a question: what's the difference between annular eclipse and total eclipse?
Okay, I'm coming to that in one of my next slides, which will come soon. Okay, here I am showing the path through Nanda Devi National Park. Nanda Devi National Park is over here, but the actual peak of Nanda Devi is out of the path, south of the southern limit. So it will experience about 99% of the eclipse, but not central. It will be partial. Should I resume my presentation?
Yes, Ajay, you can resume the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so I have shown you many maps of the eclipse going through India. How do you check it for yourself where the eclipse is happening and what is? So there are several resources available on the internet. You can download a KMZ file from. This file is made by Xavier Joubier, who's a French eclipse chaser, very famous, and it can be downloaded from xjoubier.free.fr, and it can be run in Google Earth on a computer. So let me start Google Earth for you, and I'll show you how this KMZ file looks like. So here we have Google Earth, and this is the path of the eclipse of 21st June. You can see the point of greatest eclipse, and you can zoom in to any part uh, outside and inside the path, anywhere in the world. And after some time, this red square will appear, which will give you the local circumstances. So if you click on this red square, you get the local circumstances whether the eclipse is partial, or if I bring this part in the middle of the screen, then after a few seconds, the local circumstances red square will appear, and I can click on it and get the local circumstances. So this KMZ file can be downloaded from xjoubier.free.fr, and you can go to this website, and over here, this is the website, and somewhere in the middle you have this link for Google Earth files, and if you go in that link, you will have the KMZ files of total or hybrid eclipses, and below you will have the link for the KMZ files for annular eclipses, and you can click on the particular eclipse that you want the KMZ file, and then you can download it. So over here I have this Google Earth showing the path of the eclipse on 21st June. I can also turn on multiple give me a moment. I'm turning on multiple paths on the same map. So here we have the two annulars which of 2019, 26 December 2019. The path is going through the southern India, and the upcoming eclipse of 21st June, which is going, the path is going through. You can readily see that the this path is quite wide. I can even measure it for you. This is about 132 kilometers, and the path of the June eclipse is very small, just about 22 kilometers. So this is basically signifying that the eclipse is very special. The size of the sun and the moon are almost same, while in the 2019 eclipse, the moon was really small, much smaller than the sun. So that's why the path was very wide. There is also this interactive map by Xavier, which I just showed it to you, and I'll show it again, where you can click anywhere, and then you can have your local circumstances. Then, of course, the famous Mr. Eclipse, whose real name is Fred Espenak, he's a real veteran of eclipses. He was employed with NASA and used to make all the predictions for all the eclipses. You can visit the interactive map by Mr. Eclipse on this website. I just want to tell you that I have made a Google Drive with all the resources that I'm showing in this presentation. So this is the Eclipse Preparatory Workshop folder, and whatever I'm showing over here, including the presentation, is available for you to download. And I'm going to share the link for this Google Drive with everyone. So you can check exactly where you want to go, what are the local circumstances using these resources. Well, there are different types of eclipses, different type of solar eclipses that happen, and it all depends what is the apparent size of the sun and what is the apparent size of the moon on that particular day. So if the apparent size of the moon is larger than the sun, then you will have a total solar eclipse. If the apparent size of the moon is smaller than the sun, then you will have a annular solar eclipse, like which happened on 15 January 2010. The size of the moon was so small that it was the longest annular in this millennium, 15 January 2010. Then there's another type of eclipse which changes from a total to an annular, or it could change from an annular to a total across the path as it traverses the Earth, and that is called a hybrid eclipse. Then, of course, there are non-central eclipses, like a partial eclipse when the shadow of the moon misses the Earth above the North Pole or below the South Pole. So that will be a partial solar eclipse. This particular eclipse of 26 December was not a partial, but I'm just showing a partial phase of that annular eclipse. So what is so special about this eclipse of 21st June 2020? Well, here I have written down the apparent diameter of the moon is 31 minutes and 18.08 seconds, and the apparent diameter of the sun is 31 minutes 28.46 minutes. So the ratio is the size of the sun and the moon are almost same. The ratio of the moon above sun diameter is very close to 1, 0.994. That's what is so special about this eclipse. This is almost a total solar eclipse. So if we compare the same statistics with the annular of 26 December, which happened this is actually an annular in one season, and in the very next season you are having another annular. So what is this season that I'm talking about? The eclipse season come every 6 months, 10 days before, 10 or 11 days before. So there was an eclipse season in December 2019, and the next eclipse season is in June 21st. So it's 6 months minus 10 days. So let me compare the ratio of the moon and sun diameter in this annular of 26 December was 0.958. The moon was smaller than the sun. So if you compare, we're going to have a ratio of 994 as compared to 958. And if I compare the annular of which happened on 15 January 2010, the moon was extremely small because it was far away from the Earth, and the sun was extremely large because it was closest to the Earth, and the ratio was 0.91. So the annular of 15 Jan 2010 was almost like a partial eclipse. So what does this ratio actually mean? What does 0.994 mean? It means that the you will see a lot of beads, a lot of Baily's beads around the moon. Okay, I'm going to take a break over here and see if there are any questions. Okay, I see a question from Sunil. He says, if the ratio of the moon to sun is exactly 1, what will be the width of the eclipse shadow on the earth? Well, you can't have a ratio of exactly 1. The reason being, the size of the sun and the size of the moon, several scientists don't agree on it. So there's a lot of debate on what exactly is the size of the moon. Also, moon is not exactly spherical like the sun. So sun is like a very smooth billiard ball, but moon is not. Moon has got a lot of valleys and mountains, so it's not a spherical thing. So what do you call it? It can't be one. The radius of the moon varies. If it is a valley over there, the radius will be less. If there is a mountain over there at the point of contact, the radius is more. So you can't actually define. But yes, if the moon was extremely spherical and we have a ratio of 1, then we would have a path of the width of the path would be very small, like you could say 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers. And the eclipse would be called a beaded eclipse, So you would see like a diamond ring on all sides of the moon simultaneously. And the duration of the eclipse would be extremely small, approaching 0 seconds.
In case of total solar eclipse, what
Any
will
other
be the
question
size of the
pending?
shadow?
The size of the shadow would be just like 1 kilometer or maybe less than that. Um, Such a situation hasn't occurred till now.
No, I mean, isn't it the width of the totality path, which is the size of the shadow? Like, okay, not the
Yes, that's
ratio
right.
equal to 1,
The path
but
of
if you have total solar eclipse wherein moon is completely covering the sun, like let's say 2017 eclipse, then it's the totality path which is the size of the shadow, right? Width of the totality path.
that's right. That's what you're saying is absolutely correct. The path of the width of the path is the size of the shadow.
Cool, thanks.
Ajay, is there any chance of getting a prominences?
In this particular eclipse, yes, very much, very much. I have 1 or 2 slides which will be discussing this particular topic, which is coming up. Any other question pending?
No, I think we can go ahead.
Okay, I'll resume my presentation. So let me talk about local circumstances uh, and how to calculate them. Local circumstances mean where is the eclipse happening in the sky, what time will the first contact, second, third, and fourth contact will happen. So how do you calculate the all important local circumstances for the site that you're going to go? So the first uh, method I want to mention is a software called MICA, Multi-Year Interactive Computer Almanac, which is available from wilbell.com. It's a paid software, but it's not very expensive. And it does many other things, calculate the ephemeris and lots of other things. So that's one way of calculating the local circumstances. Then the second software I want to mention is something called occult software. Is basically meant for occultation work, but it's a good tool to measure the local circumstances. It's available for free, and you can use it very easily. Then the third method is interactive map from NASA, where you can go and zoom into the map and click anywhere and get your local circumstances. Then, of course, there's this interactive map for Mr. Eclipse, and then you have the Google Earth KMZ files, which I just showed. And finally, the best method, which I like the most, is the interactive map from Xavier Jubier. And I'm going to take you to that map right now. So this is the map, interactive map on the website. You can go to xjubier.free.fr and then click on the link to interactive maps, and then you can have this interactive map. So you can have the you can go anywhere in the world and check what's happening. So if I zoom into the map near India, okay, let me choose the city of Suratgarh, which lies on the center line. So let me zoom in, and I just click over here, and I get the shadow as well as the local circumstances in an instant. So here it says that the small box that appears of the local circumstances, it tells me a lot of things. Uh, the internal depth, path width, obscuration, how long the eclipse is going to last, the central eclipse. Also the timing of the first contact, second contact, maximum, then the third contact and fourth contact. And also you can see that as I hover over these points, the shadow changes location. So it's a highly interactive map, and giving you a lot of detail about the local circumstances. So this is the best way of calculating local circumstances. Let me give you a little bit explanation of what this local circumstances actually show. So I'm going to start from the top left. This is the latitude in degree, minute, second form as well as decimal form. Okay, could somebody provide me feedback whether you are able to see the cursor on the screen, please?
So it's on the latitude and longitude location.
Just at 29 degrees, sir.
Are you able to see the cursor?
Yeah, 29 degree. Yeah.
Okay, great. Then, of course, you have the longitude in degree, minute, second, and decimal. On the right, you have the duration, the theoretical duration. That means theoretically, the eclipse would be of 39.7 seconds. But as it happens, the lunar limb corrected. That means there are valleys at the point of second contact and third contact, valleys on the moon, which will reduce the annularity to 22.8 seconds. You see, the moon is not a smooth sphere, and it has got valleys and mountains. So at the time of this eclipse, you will encounter a valley on both sides, and it will delay the second contact by 5 seconds, and the third contact will come earlier by 11.8 seconds. So this local circumstances table on Xavier Jubier's website will give you the theoretical duration as well as the actual duration that you will encounter. The entumbral depth is the percentage of the way from the closest edge of the eclipse path to the center line that this location is at. So if you click on the center line, you will get 100%. If you click away from the center line, you will get the entumbral depth. It also shows you the path width, which is about 22.3 kilometers at Suratgarh, which is pretty much constant across entire India. The obscuration is 98.743, which is actually the area of moon as compared to the area of the sun. The magnitude is 0.996, which means that the diameter of the moon and the sun is 0.996 at this point. And the moon divided by sun ratio is 0.993. The velocity, the intemporal shadow velocity is 0.56 kilometers per second. And then, of course, the delta t value is given based on which all these calculations have been performed. And the time of contact is given in universal time. So basically, you will have to add 5.5 hours to get the local time. Then the next table that comes is of the altitude. And you can see over here that the maximum eclipse is happening at an altitude of almost 80 degrees. The direction is 118 azimuth, and this particular quantity of P is actually angle in degrees between the north point on the sun's disk and the contact point of the moon. So this is the angle where the moon will come and contact the sun. And in the table, the quantity V is the o'clock position on the sun's face of the contact point. That means if the V is 12, that means the contact is happening right from the top of the sun. So over here, you can see that the last contact is at 11:04. That means the sun will go, the moon will go towards the top of the sun and exit the sun at 11 o'clock position. And the last quantity in this table is the limb correction, which means that there's a valley and the second contact will be delayed by 5 seconds and the third contact will be earlier by 11.8 seconds. That means there's a valley both at the second contact and the third contact. A little bit about the weather, and this graphic is from J. Anderson's website, which is named as eclipsophile.com. You can visit this website and get the weather for all the future eclipses happening. So let me go through this graph. Over here, the black line is showing the cloud amount, the fractional cloud amount along the path at 10:30 a.m. local standard time. So the black line is 10:30, and so this satellite, the name of the satellite which has provided this data is named as Terra, and the red line is the data provided by a satellite called Aqua, and the time of the data is 1:30. So you can see that India is over here, and just below India, you have a sort of cloud percentage of 0.4 and between 0.4 and 0.6. So this is highly useful. You can go to eclipsophile.com and get a whole text of the weather that is going to be prevalent on the day of the eclipse in India. I also have a slide where the path through Pakistan and India is shown in detail. So here you have the border of Pakistan and India, and before that you have a really good cloud-free sky, and the probability of cloud over here is just 0.2, 20%. And as the eclipse path comes into India, this is probably Suratgarh over here, and then Allahabad and Sirsa is over here, and the cloud percentage over here rises from 30% to 40%. So Sirsa will be, there is a probability of 40% probability that it will be clouded off. But it is far more important to check the weather 1 week before the eclipse and decide where you want to go. Now, if you go on towards Thanesar and Dehradun, the probability of the clouds rises quite a lot. And there's a dip over here in the valley of the Ganga, a very deep valley. I think this is Bhagirathi River, the valley of Bhagirathi River, where the cloud probability has gone very less. And then it rises up till Joshimath, and in the high peaks near Hardeol and Nanda Devi National Park, the probability of the cloud goes down drastically. So in this presentation over here, I'm showing you these slides for a very short time. So you may not be able to go over this data in detail, but later if you go and visit eclipsophile.com, you can gather all this data and pore over it and make your decision where you would like to go and watch the eclipse. Let me take a short break and see if there are any questions. Okay, there's a question from Sunil that if the x-axis is longitude, how come places like Yemen and Pak have longer length than India? Well, the x-axis is not exactly longitude, but the path of the center line. So if the center line is going at an oblique angle, the path will be longer, even though the longitude is not so much. So you see over here that the path through Pakistan is actually longer than the path through India because the eclipse is going at an angle. Does that answer your question, Sunil? Okay. Amritanshu has asked a question. Can you explain the entumbral depth? Entumbral depth is basically where you are located inside the path. So if you are located on the center line, exactly on the center line, your entumbral depth will be 100%. If you are on the northern limit or the southern limit, then your entumbral depth would be 0%. And somewhere in the middle, it will be 50, 75, and so on and so forth. So Amritanshu, does that answer your question? Swapnil Rastogi has asked, can we also see the coronal tendrils? Well, I'm going to show you a slide which is a photograph from the annular eclipse of 2010, and I certainly photographed the chromosphere. I hope to see the coronal features a little bit in this particular eclipse, but I can't be sure to answer that. A previous question from Anjan Banik. Sir, can you share your knowledge and can you share the slides through Drive with us? Well, the answer to that is I will be sharing the entire presentation in the Drive. So you can download everything from the Drive and go over the material at your leisure. Okay. I'm going to resume my presentation. So what are you seeing over here? This is a series of animations that I have generated using the software called Occult. And what is the purpose of the generating these animations? To see where I'm going to see the maximum Bailey's beads, and also along with annularity. So let me explain this graphic to you first of all. So over here we have the eclipse at center line. This is slightly orangish color I've made. And if you proceed towards the left, this graphic is 1 kilometer northwards of the center line. This graphic is 2 kilometers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kilometers northwards, 9, 10, 11 kilometers northward. This is the northern limit of the path of the eclipse. The eclipse path is almost constant, 22 kilometers across entire India. So this graphic will work anywhere on the center line. Moving rightwards, you have 1 kilometer southwards, and then so on and so forth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kilometers southwards, and this is the southern limit. So what do you see over here? If you are standing at the center line, the moon will move through the center of the sun, and you will have the maximum annular time. If you move, let's say 4 kilometers northwards, you will see that the moon has shifted towards the southern direction inside the sun, and you will see a lot of Bailey's beads being produced on the southern side of the moon. You see, the southern side of the moon has more mountainous regions. So more beads are produced at the southern side. Moving on to, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kilometers, you will see annularity has reduced, but the eclipse is hardly annular. It is almost like if you watch this particular graphic, you will see that it never gets annular. It's always partial. You are watching a display of Bailey's beads at the bottom edge, but there is never a moment of annularity. Moving southwards, if we move 8 kilometers, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the moon is moving towards the northern edge of the sun, and you will see that the eclipse is also not annular over here. But if you notice carefully, there are less number of beads. So which is the ideal position? Is it the center line? Well, I have decided on the basis of these animations that I am going to be at 4 kilometers north of the center line. How can you make decision yourself? Let me show you a method. Okay, here is the Google Drive. I'm going to share the link with you. In fact, why don't I just do it right now? So you can download these occult generated GIFs. Inside this folder, you have 22 animations, which are all generated using the Occult software. There is also this particular video that I was showing you. Where is it? Yeah, sequence 5 over here. Sequence 5.1 is the video that I was just showing you, and you can go through individual animations. All of them are nicely marked: Suratgarh 4 kilometer, 5 kilometer, 6, and so on and so forth. So you can download and make your own decision. These occult generated GIFs are generated for Suratgarh, but they are valid all across the path. in India. I would now like to discuss this software Occult and show how you can make your own predictions and generate your own files, this animated GIFs using the software Occult. So this is how Occult software looks like. You can click on the Bailey's beads analysis, and a number of windows will come up. So here is the window where you input all the data, and here is the window which will show you the actual image or the animation of the sun. So in the Google Drive, I have placed location DAT files for Occult. So Suratgarh 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer north and south and 4 kilometers. So all these DAT files are available for your use. So let me just load one of the data file, location file. So I'm going to load Suratgarh 4 kilometer north, which is my preferred location for watching the eclipse. So over here, the latitude and longitude will come up, and as well as the altitude. You can change these values according to your location. Then I have entered the universal time near about the maximum time, actually near about the second contact time. So let me plot the eclipse as seen from this location at this time. So image will appear. So this is the actual simulation of the eclipse at this location at this time. Now I can also start an animation over here, and I will increase the step time to 0.5 second and start the animation. The animation, okay, I have to set the duration also. So I'm going to set a duration of 90 seconds. So let me start this animation. This the generation of the animation will take a long time. It's not so simple. There's a lot of complicated calculations, and so it will go step by step. So over here, I'm just showing you a gist of how to start this animation. And then when you're done with making the animation, you can go and save this animation from the menu in Occult. So here you can, there's an option, menu item, create animated GIF, using which you can save this particular animation. That's what I have done previously, and I have placed all these animations at various points inside the path in the Google Drive. Over here in this window, you also have the lunar limb plot. So this is the entire 360 degrees limb of the moon, and you can also see that this is 0 degrees and 360 degrees, and so you have the entire limb of the moon showing the mountains and the valleys. You have a choice of choosing between lunar orbiter and Kaguya data. So Kaguya data is more accurate as it is more recent. Over here, I neglected to choose the Kaguya data, but I suggest that you use the Kaguya data which is more recent than LOLA. So over here, this animation is progressing. You can see the time changing in the lower part of the window, but the animation generation is slow, but ultimately you can save the animated GIF using the menu item. So this is a method using Occult to generate your own animations of the eclipse. How is it going to look? What will be the number of beats that you're going to see? What is the duration of the annularity that you're going to see at the your own selected location? I am sure there are going to be questions. So on this particular topic of Occult, so I'm going to chat now and see if there are any questions.
So there are no questions so far. So probably I think people should try it and then they may be able to ask you questions.
Yeah, this is a difficult part. How to generate? Amritanshu has asked how to generate a DAT file. Well, you need to enter your latitude, longitude, and then there's a save button over there. And then you can save your DAT file. So over here in the file menu, you have the option of saving your DAT file according to the latitude and longitude and the altitude that you have entered. The DAT file also saves the default time that you have entered. Does that answer your question, Amritanshu? Any other question? Okay, Shashikaran has asked a question. Why did you decide to locate yourself 4 kilometers north of the center line for Bailey's beads? Well, I decided on the basis of these animations only. I generated these animations for each kilometer of the 22-kilometer wide path, and I sat on them for days together and saw where I am going to get the maximum number of beats as well as annularity. So at some places I was getting partial eclipse, and at some places, well, it was decided from beforehand that I'm going to be north of the center line because the southern edge of the moon is more mountainous. So it was decided beforehand that I'm going to be towards the north of the center line. So reaching the conclusion that I'm going to be 4 kilometers was due to looking at all these generated animated GIFs where I'm going to get maximum number of beats as well as some few seconds of annularity. Ravindranath has asked, Occult software, is it only for moon or other celestial planets? No, it is only meant for moon because the Occult software is meant for lunar occultations.
Okay, Ajay, thanks for that. But I just saw so it's lunar occultation of other objects, is it? Because I see on the occult software page by David Herald that it's for other objects as well.
Okay, so I am clearly mistaken over here. Sorry for that faux pas. I have mostly used it for lunar profile.
Yeah. Even I was curious because it showed the valleys and the peaks, etc., of the lunar surface. So I was curious. So I was also parallelly googling. So I figured that it is this is Occult 4.6, right? By David Herald.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ravindranath.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay.
Okay, let me resume my presentation. Now I want to take up the matter of solar filters This is an annular eclipse. The sun will never be totally covered. Please mind it. This is an annular eclipse. It may be almost total, but it's not a total. The sun will never be covered entirely. You will always have some part of the sun visible. You cannot see it with your naked eyes. Let me say this again. This is an annular eclipse. You cannot see it with your naked eye without the use of filter. You may like to expose your camera entirely to a without filter sun, but with your naked eye, no. This is an annular eclipse. Please do not watch this eclipse without the use of a solar filter. So on the screen, you can see a lot of solar filters on display. And I have a couple of visual filters to be used with naked eyes. I also have a couple of filters which are slightly brighter to be used photographically. So here is one solar filter that you can use for your eyes. Usually the filters meant for use on the eyes are darker, ND6, and the solar filters which are meant for photographic use are slightly brighter, ND5. This is one of the solar filters which was made by Vigyan Prasar. I want to show that the area of the filter is extremely small, and the previous filter had a large area of viewing. So this kind of filter is not very useful, because if your eye distance between your eye does not match with the filter, you will have problems. Also, you must take care that the filter is not damaged in any way. Here I am showing a filter, and I have myself threaded the filter so that it always remains on my neck. I know where it is and nobody will ask for it. So I always have this filter around my neck. I won't place it anywhere. It won't get lost. It won't get damaged. Okay, I want to show you this particular window. This is a cardboard which I've just used and cut a window inside and placed a filter. Why did I do that? That's because I want to cover my face while watching towards the sun, and it makes for a very comfortable filter. This window is like a large window, and you can see it very comfortably. It's very comfortable to have this such a large filter in your hand. Again, I must say that you should watch each and every filter for any damage, any pinhole, any from the side, the light leaking. You should be very careful that there is no light leakage from any part of the filter. And you should not use old filters because they are damaged. Usually these filters have metal coating on both sides of the substrate. So you can see over, oh, excuse me. Just a second. So here we are. This is a plastic part. This is a plastic sheet with metal coating on both sides. So this metal coating may get scratched, but if the coating is on both sides, the scratch will not affect your performance. But if there are a lot of scratches on the filter, then you should not use it. This particular type of filter with metal coating on both sides will show a sort of, the color of the sun would be whitish. These days you have a filter which shows you a natural yellow-orange color also. So you can choose the color of the sun. According to that, you can choose your filter. This particular filter, which I made a long time back for the transit of Venus, is actually a black and white film. And this particular film is 24, the celebrated 2415, very high resolution film. And you can see that I have used 4 strips of the film, and I have aligned these sprockets so that no sunlight passes through. And this is one of the oldest filter that I have, very fine, but now I don't use it because it's gone bad. So this is a black and white film which contains silver inside, and it is a safe solar filter if it is exposed completely and developed. Next, this is a filter which I'm showing for a refractor. It will show the sun in white color, and it is made out of a embroidery wooden frame. This is a filter for the finder. People usually forget to filter the finder, and it can be dangerous. So if you have placed a filter over your main telescope, you must not forget to also filter the finder. Or if you don't have the filter to the finder, you must securely cover it with a cloth or paper. Okay, this is a camera filter. 2 UV filters have been joined together, sandwiched together, and there is a filter film placed in the middle of these 2 UV filters. So you can use 2 UV filters according to the lens size that you have, sandwich them in between with a filter film. This is a black polymer filter which provides for a very yellowish orange sun, and does not have coating on the exterior of the film but has carbon inside ingrained in the film. So even if you scratch the filter, nothing will happen. This is for a bigger telescope, 8-inch telescope, and all these filters I have built on my own. So this is a thick cardboard that I have used. All these filters have been made on my own. And in this particular filter, you can see a wooden frame which is usually used for embroidery. Yeah, now this is an embroidery frame that has been used along with some cardboard. This particular type of filter which will provide a white color sun. Here I have used a very small ring, with a tripod hole at the bottom, so that I can get the landscape, but the sun will be, I can place this filter in front of the camera, a little far away from the camera, just to filter the eclipse. The landscape will come on the sides and the eclipse will be filtered. So here I have this particular photograph is from a filter which is metal coated on both sides. So you can see that it is white. Here also it is a white filter. Here you have the black polymer filter. Same over here. The black polymer filter will provide you with a yellowish orange tinge. And here it is a filter with mylar coated with metal coatings on both sides, which will provide a white colored sun. Now I want to go through a series of photographs showing you the construction of a filter on your own. So here I'm showing a filter which is being constructed for a binocular. So you have a thick paper, construction paper. A long strip has been cut, which is being wrapped around the binocular, and it has been marked, and then a Fevicol is being applied so that it can be made into a round. So over here Fevicol, and then you make it around the binocular, not so tight and not so loose, just right, so that you can remove it with your hand, but not accidentally.
Ajay,
The
sorry
next step is to cut a square. Yeah.
Can you please represent somebody again presented in
Yes.
between and we lost it?
Oh, okay. So how far back I should go?
Nothing. It is almost few seconds. That's all. Yeah, we can play now.
Okay, presently I'm showing you a method of how to construct a solar filter on your own. And this is a roundel that you have made around the, you can make it around a lens or a telescope or binocular. And then you're cutting a square, which from the center you will take the circle out. So such squares you will have to make minimum of 2, or you can add more for strength and durability. So here you are seeing that circle is being made, so that these sort of rings will be made, double ring, and the filter will be sandwiched in between. Here I have a video of the filter being constructed, making a circle out of paper. Then of course you make the circles, several circles, and cut them out so that filter can be sandwiched in between. And then this kind of structure, this kind of shape is being made so that it can be bent over the roundel. So I am sure you are getting the gist of how this filter is to be made. You have to make a roundel and then a few rings, and you have to then join the rings and this roundel cylinder. And here is a visual view, the best view, using a binocular fitted with a filter in front. Now I must warn you very seriously over here that any device used for a solar eclipse watching or photographing must have a filter before the light enters the instrument. Before the light enters the instrument. You cannot have a filter after the eyepiece. It will get burnt. You must always have a filter before the light enters the. So visually the best view would be using a binocular on a stand. I will pause over here and see if there is any question regarding the making of the solar filter. There is a question by Shyam Sundar Srinivas, and he asked me how to DIY H-alpha filter. Well, the answer is you cannot. H-alpha filter, hydrogen alpha filter, is a highly complicated thing, rejecting a lot of energy and letting only a small wavelength of light through. It's not a DIY thing. Then
I think Gaurav
Swapnil
has asked a
has
question.
asked a question. If we are okay.
So he asked if so I think once you said okay, don't see it through the naked eye, and you can photograph it through camera. So he's asking will it not burn
He
the
has asked
camera
a question.
sensor? Yeah, I think he reposted the question again. Can we use the
Subsequently,
camera
in this presentation, I'm going to show you an image which is without filter. So let me answer that question subsequently, a little later.
So Ajay, I got the
Black
point.
polymer filter. What is the material used?
So actually, I use the concept which you showed, like using a UV filter and putting a Mylar filter over it. I accidentally pasted the filter, the Mylar sheet with a solvent thing, and actually got damaged. So half of the filter has now been, like, the silver which it had, it has now been erased off. So that is one thing. I think only the sandwiching is allowed for the filter, not pasting anything or any adhesive using on the sheet. Is that correct?
Rajat, it's far better to have a cardboard thing which will last you for a long time. Nothing wrong in using rubber band, but far better option to have make it with a cardboard, because there won't be light leakage also, and then you'll be able to use your filter for the next eclipse also, or maybe for general observation of sun.
Sure. Thanks.
So Ajay, when you make these cardboard filters, do you use some adhesive to stick the filter film to the cardboard, or do you use tape?
I use Fevicol.
Okay, okay. I have used tape
No,
and
actually,
it works well.
Fevicol is actually a water-based solution, so it is okay. I use something else. So because Mylar is sensitive to thinner and all this organic solvent, so it actually got damaged. So Fevicol might work. Thanks for the suggestion,
Fevicol
Ajay.
has never caused any problem in my. Yes.
Hello, Ajay, are you there?
Okay, Swapnil has asked. Uh, yes, I am there.
Okay, sorry. I think there is a delay in the so in
Go
whatever
ahead,
I'm saying.
Kirti.
So please go ahead, Ajay. I think it's fine.
Yes. Go ahead, Kirti.
Nothing. Actually, I was about to say that Swapnil has asked a question, but I think you were also getting to the same thing, and there is a delay between my audio and your audio. So please go ahead, Ajay. It's fine.
Right. So I will answer Swapnil's question now. Swapnil's question has a couple of parts. Okay, if you are already using solar telescope, that is Lund telescope, then we also have to use solar filter over it. No, if you have a solar telescope, then you don't need additional filter, because you are anyway in normal circumstances also you're watching the sun, and during the eclipse you don't have to add any other special filter on top, so you're good to go. Ravindranath has asked, black polymer filter, what is the material used? Well, it is a film, just like a X-ray film, and it contains carbon inside, which is the filtering material. Rajesh Keshav has asked, when should we start our telescope to view obstacle-free viewing? Well, the eclipse is happening around noon, so if your telescope is on a alt-azimuth mount, there shouldn't be any problem. As I know you have a alt-azimuth telescope, you can start the obstacle viewing. There would be no problem in your case, Rajesh ji. But for people who have an equatorial mount, German equatorial mount, they will have to flip the meridian at noon. So you could start on the wrong side of the flip and then continue in the same manner. Then Shyam Sundar Srinivas has asked, how can we test our DIY filter whether or not they are safe? safe for eye observation? Well, that particular test is very difficult, and it is. Um, I have tried, and many people have tried in India, but not got a confirmation. But Thousand Oaks and Bader, they provide a certificate along with the filter, proving that this is safe for visual and solar or photographic use. And Shamsundar Srinivas has further asked, which is better, a filter from Thousand Oaks or Bader? Well, the Bader filter has got a coating on both sides of the substrate, and it is liable to scratches. You have to keep it very safely. Thousand Oak filter is not liable to scratching at all because the carbon is embedded inside the film. Okay, now the Thousand Oak filter has slightly less resolution than the Bader filter. The Bader filter is extremely thin, and it's like a optical window, and even if the Bader filter is wrinkled, nothing will happen to the final image. Thousand Oaks has got a slightly less resolution. Thousand Oaks will provide you with an orange sun. Bader filter will provide you with a white sun or an orange sun, depending on the type of filter that you buy. Bader filter, which will be slightly difficult to handle when you are constructing your own filter. Thousand Oaks, since it is very thick, it will be far easier to handle when you are making your own filter. I hope that answers your questions, Shamsundar. Okay, the 2 hours that were designated for this session are already over. I will just take 5 more minutes to go through and continue on next Sunday. So I want to start off with what kind of photography you can do in this annular. So I will just run through the kinds of photography that you are able to do. So the first one that I want to mention is ambient light dimming. So I have played the video on the left side, which has been shot in the 2017 eclipse, August, at Redfish Lake, Idaho. It was a total solar eclipse, and the dimming, the ambient light dimming was extreme. Then this is a ambient light dimming video from the Ooty Radio Telescope, the 2019 eclipse. By the way, this Ooty Radio Telescope is humongous, half a kilometer long, and it moves together. It is an incredible sight when it moves. Such a large piece of structure moving together, it's really amazing. When you stand under it and it starts to slew, wow. So I was here at Ooty Radio Telescope to see the eclipse. I've reached over there 3 days before the eclipse. And okay, here comes the dimming video. This is the ambient light dimming in an annular eclipse. And you can see that it is not at all as what happens in a total solar eclipse. So you never realize that the light dimmed and it came back on. And in fact, the annular solar eclipse lasts for 3 hours or something like that. And you don't even realize that the light is dimming. The light dimming in a total solar eclipse is very dramatic, very sudden, and very quick. But the light dimming in an annular solar eclipse is really gradual, and there's no sudden change even when the central eclipse happens. But my question is, what will happen in this eclipse, which is extremely total, just about total? The light dimming maybe extreme, and it would certainly be nice to capture it in such a video. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this presentation, although it is not complete. We've gone through a few glitches, and I propose that we continue next Sunday because 2 hours have already passed.
Yes, this is a good point to
There
stop.
is a
I
question
think
by
next
Adi.
week we can.
Yes, Kirti, I'll wait for you to finish.
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's just take this question and stop as you said, because it's a good point to stop. But yeah, after this question, yeah, we can stop. Thanks.
Okay, hello Adi. Good to see you over here. And he has asked a question: when should the meridian flip done? Previous day or just before the eclipse? Well, you should start your German equatorial mount in a flip mode. You should use the slewing buttons on your hand paddle. Suppose you say go to sun, it will go and then on the right side, but you should use your slew button on the hand paddle and slew 180 degrees on the opposite side of the meridian before you start the eclipse. You know, this eclipse is happening around noon. So either way, either you should continue in the same mode or you should start your telescope in a flipped mode. So let me explain a little more. See, since the eclipse is starting in the eastern hemisphere and ending in the western hemisphere, so you have an option of flipping your German equatorial mount and starting in the opposite so that the telescope is facing eastwards, and then continue throughout in the same flipped mode. Does that answer your question, Adi? So if there are any more questions, I am happy to take them before I end today's session.
Hey Ajay, I don't see any other questions. I believe all the questions have been covered.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to answer Gaurav's question.
Okay, go ahead, Ajay. Yeah.
Gaurav has asked without filter, it will burn eye or sensor or anything in exposure to it. No welder's glass, impact for long exposure can be devastating. Well, in the next session, I am going to show you a photograph which was shot during the annular eclipse of 2010. Filter was removed and an exposure was shot. Now the camera has survived. The exposure was at the minimum aperture setting, minimum ISO setting, and minimum exposure also. The camera survived. The image was overexposed, even though the exposure was minimum and the ISO was minimum. Even then, the photo was completely overexposed. But now, in this eclipse, which is almost total, you can choose to remove the filter during the phase of annularity. But mind you, the duration of the annular eclipse is just about 30 seconds or so. So you must be well prepared, well rehearsed, and all your systems must be secure and stable, so that you get a good picture. Somebody before had asked whether you will be able to see the corona, you will be able to see the prominences. Yes, there is a full chance of capturing corona as well as prominences. Now corona is fainter, prominences are slightly brighter. brighter. So in this particular eclipse, there is a full chance. But let me warn you, you cannot see this eclipse with your naked eye. It's an annular eclipse. You can take a chance on your camera, and I am providing some reference material here that camera will not go bad, but your systems, removing the filter and putting it back must be well rehearsed and nicely, everything should be nice. So you should have done it 2-3 times before. Only then you'll be able to successfully capture in that short period when the annular eclipse is happening. Well, I thank Kirti and I thank Vishwanath for organizing this session. Very happy to do it, and the response that I'm getting is also wonderful, very encouraging. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you very much. Others, this session has been recorded and we will be sharing this on our BAS YouTube channel. So please do subscribe to the channel and you'll get notified when we upload the video. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for participating.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
We
Ajay.
will
Thank
have
you.
this session on the same day next week, Sunday, 11:30 a.m. So please do attend. Thanks a lot, Ajay. This is a really, really wonderful presentation, one of the best we have done so far.